It goes without saying that the next-gen car has been pretty lackluster in general for us NASCAR fans, but as the title might say, I do think it is time to take some big swings. The next-gen is a huge problem, but I think the mentality and the messaging from those in charge right now, from various different places in the sport, is just frankly maddening, from NASCAR itself to the teams as well. Recently, Bozy put on his new podcast the revelation that NASCAR approached the teams with a kind of run what you brung kind of race for the All-Star race coming up. And the teams denied. Instead, the All-Star race will be gimmicked up again, and the racing will be like any other short track we see on the schedule for the last 4 years. And one of the things, of course, that was brought up was costs. And costs continue to get brought up over and over with this, but it's disappointing that many fans, and I would say myself included in this a lot of times, think that the teams are definitely more on the same wavelength, when in general, they might just as much be the problem when it comes to the racing itself. And I get that costs are a big thing. The industry is contracted in many ways, and many are looking and saying, yeah, we need cost-cutting measures for X, Y, and Z. But what we've seen instead is losing things that we would want or losing opportunities for things that would be really cool. Parker Kligerman even brought up on his podcast the point that NASCAR is basically making $1.1 billion a year for Cup. To us, lay people, that is an insurmountably insane amount of money. There's no excuses that there can't be some spending. And to be honest, we fans don't really care about the cost for the teams all that much when they're making more money than we will ever see. While we all are looking and barely being able to afford groceries like eggs and different things like that, what we care about is the racing. And instead, we're losing out on probably better racing because of so many different problems. And to be fair, the racing has especially suffered since 2019, though there has been the talk forever about how to improve it. And it's due, though, to both NASCAR and the teams. Looking at the NASCAR front, NASCAR is at fault for the next gen being rushed, how it is right now. It definitely was affected by the COVID problem of not being able to test as much in person and using a lot more sim work to do it when, quite frankly, based on all reports, the technology just really wasn't there the way it even is today, let alone in general to develop a car. And with it, they really wanted this car to be a 500 to 550 horsepower car, the way the Gen 6 had been at the end of its era. And the teams end up nudging them to 670 where we're at today, and even then, many of us fans want to be more, but it could have been worse. There's been discussions on how NASCAR won't make big changes, very soon at least, even though we're 4 years into the next-gen era. But let's not act like teams are the good guys or innocent in any way either. From 2019 to 2021, they wanted every single race to be under the 550 horsepower package. The same rule set so they could save money and it wouldn't be all that much cost. Now, they won't do even a test on the next gen, and they cite costs over and over and over again, even though they really have said they just allocate the money to other places. There's no real fix here, it's just moving money back and forth. And with that, we have been suffering as fans. We had to sit through 3 years of the 550 package with a bit of 750 on the shorter package and road course package, but to be fair, also, those were actually some pretty damn good races. But overall, we've been struggling and been on the struggle bus for a while. And when you add in the next gen outside of mile and a halfs, it's nothing to write home about at best. To me, it's clear at some point, all parties involved have got to bite the bullet and fix this. Racing is expensive. It always has been, it always will be, and it's only getting more expensive as the years go on and as they try and keep up with the technology of today's auto industry. Bad racing is mostly, though, at the tracks we need it to be good at: super speedways and short tracks. The short tracks hold the core base, while the lowest watched races in general, they have all the diehards clanging on and clamoring for everything that would happen next, or at least they used to. Super speedways are the biggest races for NASCAR. The Daytona 500, the races at Talladega and Atlanta, and even the regular season finale at Daytona in the summer. All of those bring in some of the biggest audiences on their parts of the schedule and of the entire year. And on top of that, all of these races bring in the casual racing fan that so many in NASCAR want to bring in. It's no secret whatsoever that the Daytona 500 is the most watched race. You can argue it's the most important race for NASCAR, for if the Daytona 500's good, you might be able to get a few more people hooked on for the weeks to come. And I know people have downplayed that in the past, but so many people that I know that watch the sport and have met, their first race that they ever watched was the Daytona 500. And I can attest to that on an anecdotal reference here. My first race I ever watched was the 2005 Daytona 500. While maybe not the biggest banger ever during the start and middle of the race, the finish of that race and the way that the racing was in general had me hooked. Watching Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, all of the stars of the sport be able to race up front and race well in a really entertaining way, that kept me hooked for the next week. And my driver sucked that year. And you know what? I still loved it because the racing each week was good. You had the racing at those super speedways to look forward to. You had the racing at the short tracks and everything in between that we have now. Losing these races' quality loses a connection both with new potential fans as well as the old ones. Because if the diehard fan is not willing to watch Bristol or Martinsville, then what are they going to be willing to watch? Are they really going to be marking off their calendars as much for Kansas as they would the Bristol night race back in the day? I don't think so, and I love Kansas. Awesome track. It's no Bristol night race in its heyday. Costs be damned. Better racing is exactly what they are here to do. And I don't care what any of the teams or execs say. They're kind of pigeonholed to say what they need to say in their particular area, but I don't care. There's not enough people, I still think, calling this out because while there are some that I think are very good in the media and are good at speaking their mind, there are too many that just go along with it. There are too many fans that once they hear their favorite person in the sport say something, just go along with it. Even if they don't really like it all that much, they put up with it. Now isn't the time to put up with it. Now is the time for action, not for shilling, not for people who are just going to tell you everything's perfect, bad races happen. Yes, they do happen, but they're happening more at great tracks than they ever did before, at least in my memory and a lot of other people's memories. And with everything else going on right now, it just feels like NASCAR, and especially the Cup Series, is at a boiling point. Listen, better racing will fix this. At least it will mend quite a bit when it comes to the Cup Series front, because better racing generally gives you better moments. Better moments generally gets more people talking, and when more people are talking, you're able to start bringing some people in. Look at how some of the really good moments of actual great racing, and then the ratings after it for the most part are really good. Not viral moments, just great racing, because you get more diehards and you get all of that. And I think that with how much more positive looking at, for the most part, the Xfinity Series has been this year, how many more people are watching it, if the Cup Series can get a little bit more positivity too, I think that NASCAR would be in a lot better place. So with that, I want to know what you think. What do you want NASCAR to do? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, let me know also tonight on NWP, which will be live on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Eric Eastep, Danny B. Talks, and John Ramos, a.k.a. IDK Player. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and all the rest, and I'll see you tonight. Till then, have a good one.